Hi there. Today I'm going to show you an interesting technique that combines molds with throwing. I'm going to throw a bowl in a mold. This is an effective technique for making shallow bowls. It means that your bowls are uniform in shape and size, and you don't need to measure, although you do need to weigh out your clay. If you haven't done so, check out my large noodle bowl video. This is quite a different technique again. So this is a little more like making a plate, which I'll do very soon. So as you can see, I've secured the mold using my Giffen grip. The benefit of using a Giffen grip here is that if your mold is evenly made around the center point, it will be really easy to secure. So I'm using 800 grams of this iron-rich stoneware. As I've mentioned before, it's a smooth stoneware with iron oxide and a lovely rich dark colour in a reduction firing. So now I've thrown my clay down into the centre of the mould. I'm just centering the clay. So centering pretty much as I usually do. I'm trying not to use too much water here. I feel I'm using a little too much, so it's a little harder to release the bowl from the mold if you use too much water. So I have quite soft clay, and it's okay to center. So now that the clay is centered, I'm just pushing the clay out evenly, and I'm going to push it up the sides of the mold. It's important to do this carefully and not thin out the clay too much or leave pockets of air underneath. There's actually no pulling up of walls here. A little bit about the mold. I made many molds when I had a large studio, and because of space considerations, I just kept a few. I'm glad I kept this one though. So I threw the shape from clay and then made a single piece plaster mold. I don't mind mold making and made lots of different kinds of molds, but I never really used this technique too much, that is, throwing in a mold. It's really more enjoyable to throw without the mold. However, for certain shapes and for the uniformity, it does have some advantages. So take the clay right up to the outer edge. And now I'm just working on the inside of the bowl. Just compressing a little with a sponge. Running the sponge over the surface. Just taking my time to compress well and get a nice even curve. Coming right up to the top. Now I'm giving it a bit of a swirl. I want to glaze this with maybe a light matte glaze, and I like it if the swirl shows through a little. Okay, so I think we're pretty much done here. Oh, one last swirl, and then it's pretty much about letting our bowl dry in the mold. Okay, so a couple of hours later, and the bowl is ready to demold. You can see that it's actually pulled a little away from the sides of the mold, so that indicates that it's dry enough. So I'm going to flip it over as you might flip a cake and remove the mold. And of course my mold has a foot ring already built in, so each bowl has this delicate foot ring. And of course, this means we don't need to trim. So now we've cleaned up a little on the outside, we can flip our bowl over. And then we can just give the rim a bit of a sponge and sponge a little on the inside of the bowl. Now our bowl's ready to dry fully and then bisque fire. And then of course, glaze. I think I'll also give these bowls a stamp, so a maker's mark. And we're good to go. So, as I intended, I've glazed these bowls in a matte white glaze and added some glaze on glaze rim detail. And that really shows the character of this robust clay in a subtle way. Of course, making bowls this way, they're a perfect fit when you're stacking, and they feel so similar and uniform. And that's the advantage in making this way. So these bowls are quite fine and light. They're super useful for noodle dishes or curry or rice dishes. Like my favorite, Hainanese chicken rice. And that's one of the real joys of making your own tableware, that is using it. I hope you enjoy watching these videos. If you're finding them useful, remember to subscribe. Of course, like and comment below. If you have a particular topic that you'd like covered, I'm happy to hear from you. And if you have any suggestions or feedback, feel free to comment below. As always, thanks for watching.